Hi, I'm Dan. Over the next 5 minutes, I'm going to give you 8 facts about Ad Fringe to help design your show. The first thing I'm going to look at is how many days should you perform. If you look at this plot here, along the bottom, it's venue size, going from 0 to 700. Along the y-axis, up and down, it goes from number of shows from 0 to 30. Each of those red dots is real data from last year, and that blue line is the average line. So you can see here that when you're just starting out at a 50-person tent, you may want to do only 5 shows for your act, but when you're established doing a 500-person tent, you can increase that to 8 shows per Fringe season. But the next thing I'm going to look at is how many performers should you have. So this plot here is now performers going from 2 to 12, and that blue line is now flat. So this means that venue size doesn't actually really depend on number of performers. So you can scale up from a 50-person to a 500-person tent without increasing salary costs, which is incredible. And now we also have ticket prices, going from $0 to $90, and that blue line goes from $30 to $45. So you can see here that as you get bigger venue size, you can actually charge more per ticket. So if we combine the last 3 facts together, when you're just starting out with you and your 2-3 friends, you might do 3 or 4 shows at a 50-person tent, charging $30 a ticket. But if you stick with it for a decade, you'll get to the 500-person venue size, you'll do 50 cent more tickets, 50% more shows, you don't need to hire more staff. So this means that you can actually, your revenue will skyrocket. But higher venue does come at a bigger cost. If you look at this plot of physical advertising, now it goes from number of posters around the city, ranging from A4 posters to the big banners to bus ads. The y-axis goes from 0 to 30, and that blue line goes from 5 to 15. So you can see here, there's about a tripling in number of posters required to do a 500-person tent. And not only that, they're also much more expensive posters compared to just the A4 that you see around the city. The banners and bus ads. But you also have to maintain more social media accounts as well. This is a plot of number of social media accounts. The blue line goes from about 3 to 5.5. So this means when you're just starting out, you may want to go Instagram, Facebook, and then a website. But once you're established, you will need to add TikTok, email, phone numbers, etc. to be able to maintain and build such a large audience to get them to go see your show. But not only that, you also have to maintain much more content per day on social media. This plot here is Instagram content, for example, stories and reels, posts and reels, going from 0 to 7. It's a bit more complicated now because there's red dots and blue dots. Red dots are for new shows, blue dots are for established shows. So you can actually see here that new shows tend to do 4, 5, or 6 posts per day, and they're limited mostly to the 100-person venue size. But returning shows in that same sort of venue size only do 1 post a day. Once you get to the more established 500-person audience size, it normalizes out where they do about 3 or 4 posts per day. But they also have to spend a lot more on social media spend. If you look at this plot here, now this is going from $2,500 on Facebook and Instagram ads all the way up to about $15,000 on social media ads, according to the blue line. So that's a 7 times increase in social media spend costs. So if you putting this all together, if you do want to hit those large venues, you're at very least tripling the number of posters you have, but in practice it's much more expensive than that because it's not separated by A4 or bus ads. You want to 7 times your social media spend, and you want to do about 4 or 5 times the amount of content you would make per day normally. We also tried to look at the impact of time of day. So this is our very, very, very rough estimate of time of day impact on ticket sales. So this blue line peaks about 6, 7 p.m. and then drops down to about 90% at post 8 p.m. So if you have a later show, it can impact ticket sales by 10%. And just to make it super clear, this is if you run the exact same show, the exact same ads at 10 p.m. versus 6 p.m. The stuff before 6 p.m. is a bit rougher, so I wouldn't trust that as much. We've also looked at Instagram engagements. So this is relative Instagram engagements. At the top, it's try, fail, succeed. So this is when you have a performer try something, fail at it, try it again, fail at it, try it again, succeed. It appears that customers or viewers really like that loop. And then at the bottom, you have hula hooping and juggling with about 0.6 compared to try, fail, succeeds 2.7. So this is useful for helping design your trailers. We're planning on massively escalating this analysis to cover more and more specific information. We've combined all this information together to try and make a ticket prediction algorithm. At the moment, it's very vague. I wouldn't particularly trust it, but we're getting much more accurate every year. In this plot, you can see the impacts of weekends versus weekdays. We'd love to know, has this been useful? Where would you like us to go in the future? For example, salaries by skill and age, comparison of Adelaide, Perth and Edinburgh, more engagement statistics from Instagram, or more on the planning and advertisement side of things. We'd love to hear back from you. Thank you.